So welcome to iMoot15 and this session. I shall introduce myself. Thank you, Richard. So my name's Vinny Stocker. I am based in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I work for the Moodle partner Pukunui. They're a Moodle partner in Australia, and I lead the Malaysian company for Pukunui. So I've been the iMoot's been going for a number of years. I've been involved for the last 4 years. The first year was before I was working for Pukunui. I presented, and then for the last 3 years, I've been heavily involved in the organisation of the iMoot. So I'm going to talk a little bit today just about the site and just a few little things that people might find interesting or useful. Jump in to the chat if you've got any questions and things like that. I will say right from the beginning, I'm not a coder. I've got no, I can just about read some simple HTML and work out what it's saying. And as you'll see, I'm going to show you some of the CSS for the site. I kind of figured out how to change things just over the last few months, really. You know, do all the shadows and the colors and simple bits and pieces like that. So yeah, so if you spot things that are wrong, then be gentle with me. So this is really just my checklist of things to make sure that I cover all of the bits that I was going to cover in the session. So I guess I shall just jump straight into it. I will kill the webcam. I should say goodbye on the webcam, and I shall switch over to some screen sharing. Assuming that Firefox is happy with it. I'll just take a second to click all the buttons that need to be clicked. Okay, so I'm now sharing my whole desktop. So depending on your screen, you might have to resize that if you want to still be able to view the chat along the side there. Okay, so if I start off by just talking about the theme, and I kind of, for the presentation, I was kind of thinking about just talking about the Moodle side of it, but I can also talk a little bit about the idea behind my ideas behind the iMoot for this year. It was really, I wanted to do something that was really inclusive for everyone. I wanted it so that I wanted a really simple, clean, plain Moodle site. I didn't want anything fancy. I didn't want any, carousels at the top or animations and distracting things like that. I wanted to make sure that I had things like the accessibility blocks. So if people were visually impaired, then they can. They can change the colors from my pink and blue to something maybe that's more suitable, or change the size of the font easily and things like that. And I just really wanted to keep it as simple as possible and make it look like a normal Moodle site. I didn't want something that didn't look like a Moodle site. So I used the more thing. And really just made some simple changes to the more theme by putting a bunch of custom CSS in the theme there. So, I mean, if let's just pick out something that's a little bit interesting. So, where's our blocks? There we go. So that's the CSS that styles the blocks. So we've got a nice square corner on it, there's no radius, and we've got a lovely kind of material design inspired shadow, which is there. So for those of you that are interested in that kind of thing, easy way to get started. Now I think most browsers have got the inspect element features built into them. If not, you can add, there's other things that you can add, developer tools that you can add into your browsers. But just have a look at the code, the CSS code that's kind of sitting behind, where are we? That's sitting behind a particular block. Let me find it. Try that again. There we go. So we've got block header. So if I wanted to change the, I don't know, the color of the header here, simple as that. And then copying that change into the custom CSS for the theme. So that's kind of how I did it, basically. Just had a little look around, decided what things I wanted to change, and then as you kind of start digging into it, you realize that changing something does have a knock-on effect to something else. And so, so yeah, I'm at a very early stage of learning how to use CSS and things like that. But so yeah, that's how I did the change the standard more theme. And if you've got a recent version of Moodle with the more theme, have a play with it. It's fantastic. There's so much you can do with it. You know, even just simple stuff like putting some nice background images and changing some of the. The next bit I was going to move on to was the some additional HTML. So I didn't want to use the standard fonts that are in Moodle, so I wanted to use Roboto, which is a Google font. So to allow me to do that without messing about with the theme code, so additional HTML you can find, if you go have a look for Google Fonts, and basically it just gives you a little bit of code if you want to use a particular font on your website. So that goes in the head of each page. I've done the same there, I don't know if you can see it, for Font Awesome as well. Because there's a few things on the site that was using Font Awesome that I wanted to include, so just popped it there. It's probably not the best, and I'm sure some people can some people can mention this in the chat. As far as I know, if you're theming, it's better to have all these libraries and things like that actually in the theme rather than popping it into things like the additional HTML. You know, because if there's any issues, then you know, you can find that parts of it will break and that kind of thing. If you're using a custom font, then you need to specify that. So I've got my Roboto font, and in wherever it is, in the custom CSS, somewhere in there, there'll be the, it will say, I'm not going to scroll, I'm going to scroll through all this and look for it. Body, there we go. So just telling the browser to use that particular font. I didn't do a huge amount of testing, so there may be things that are broken or don't look particularly great on other browsers, but yeah, they kind of ran out of time towards the end. Okay, so that's a little bit about the actual theme of the site. So yeah, the inspiration for all of the actual theme was from the Google material design. So again, if you look on your favorite search engine for Google material design, Then there's a whole lot of guidelines to how to style it. So you can see that I've used similar kind of, well, actually same colors that are in some of their examples. They've got a whole guidelines, certain colors to use, and actually how to combine those colors together and what works and what looks good. And it goes all the way through to shadows and layers and all that kind of thing. But it's all, yeah, all quite interesting stuff. Thank you, Richard, for popping that in there in the chat. So that was the second of the things that I was going to talk about. So custom CSS and the additional HTML. Let's close that. Next kind of brings me on to talking about the plugins on the site. And if I filter that down just for the additional plugins, we've got many at all. So we've got the local plugin for the schedule, and Shane wrote that. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. The accessibility block, configurable reports I put in because I want to put out a little bit of information to share in the wrap-up session towards the end of the iMoot. The iMoot sessions is a custom block that goes along with the schedule plugin. And of course the big blue button, the two plugins, one to display a link of all the recordings, the captures, and one to actually record the sessions. So that's it. Apart from that, it's a completely plain, bog standard Moodle site running on 2.9. So yeah, so those are plugins. I'll come back. Where are we? Yeah, I'll come back and I'll talk about the schedule specifically towards the end of the presentation. So the next thing that I was going to talk about was just a few useful, interesting bits, maybe from the front page. So I've obviously got admin. So here are all some of the other advertising bits and header images, you know, main page images that I've used over the few months setting up. But I thought I'd show you this section here. So just wait for my, there we go. So, oh, clicked the wrong button. Oh, sorry, it's not refreshing as quick as I want it to be, and a little bit click happy. Okay, turn editing on. There we go. So, yeah, I just thought I'd show you these well, they're labels basically. So if I jump in and if I edit one of these labels, so if you have a look on Moodle.org, the Mount Orange demo site has got some quite nice kind of marketing blocks on the front or the page that links off to it. And there was some discussion posts, Mary Evans, I think it was, talking about how it was done, and that kind of gave me the idea really, and I use it in quite a few places on different sites. Now again, most of them, I'm just looking through that, yeah, most of that kind of makes sense to me, but you know, really, as I said at the beginning, I'm not a coder, but I kind of figure out things and just use other little tools, and one of those tools that I find useful is Bootplay. So if I'm designing a bit of content, I'll just copy that out, then I find, now I can't remember which version Moodle is running on at the moment, 2.2 something, maybe. So Bootstrap controls parts of the theming and design, and this particular Bootplay website just kind of helps you to play around with the code and then immediately see what it looks like. So if I run that, so I kind of use this as I've got a few little bits of this code as templates. If I need to have three divs going across a page, then you just need to change the span of each one down to 4 from 6, as kind of Moodle uses 12 for the whole width, or combinations, so that adds up to 12. The buttons here. So there's my button code. So again, the buttons, I just use another tool to generate those for me, which is this one, Plugo Labs, and it's again Twitter Bootstrap 2. This is a nice simple button generator, so I can choose the color and change the text and add a Bootstrap button. Now some of these, sorry, Bootstrap icons, some of these won't work. Copy out the code there, and then just pop that into the HTML of the label as well. So it's quite easy to kind of build up some interesting layouts and that kind of thing. One of the things that I did try to do, and I do try to do as much as possible, is to make sure that any bits and pieces that I do put in like that is all responsive, and using all these divs makes it display nicely on devices with smaller windows and mobile devices and smartphones and all that kind of thing. Okay, so that's just a little bit of setup of the kind of framework of the site, the look and the feel of it. The next thing is users. Let's close a few of these windows. So we've got the main participants lounge. That's slightly different from last year. If any of you were here last year, in most of you were here last year, we had the sorry, I was reading a separate chat message there. So those of you that were with us last year, we had separate areas for the attendees and for the presenters. This year, I kind of wanted everybody on the same course, just to get a bit more interaction going between presenters and attendees. I didn't want them as divided as it was last year. So we've got our main participants lounge, and that's sitting behind 2 PayPal enrollments. So I jump into users enrollment methods. So we've got our regular attendee, and we've got our buy one, give one. So again, we were just trying to going with that idea of everybody matters and inclusivity. We were trying to let everybody attend the iMoot who wanted to, even if they couldn't afford it. I'm happy to say that we achieved that. So it's very simple, two different levels of PayPal enrollment. The buy one, give one was twice the cost to the participant. Let me turn my editing off. So that's how the majority of the attendees get onto the participant lounge, and that works well. Everybody using PayPal. For people that wouldn't use PayPal for whatever reason, then just manually enrolling them. The presenters, they had their own cohort. So we had 67 presenters. So I created a cohort and manually added the presenters to the cohort. That was synchronized with the participants lounge. So as soon as a presenter was added to that cohort, they were then a presenter on the participant lounge, and also they were enrolled in a group. When they joined the participant lounge, they were added to a group, which allowed them access to the presenters area. So at the bottom of the participants lounge, there's one section which is restricted access. I turn editing on, and if I go down to our presenters area, so there we go. So to access that particular area, you have to be one of the you have to be in the presenters group. So that was kind of how I kind of made that balance between giving the presenter information that they need to, and also not overloading the participants, the attendees, with information that they didn't need to see. So if you're just here as an attendee, there's all that stuff down there that you wouldn't have seen, which is just for the presenters. Okay, so that was the first part of the users. Okay, if I just hop back to, so how are we doing? Theme, custom CSS, plugins, front page, users, power, presenters group. Okay, so presentation submissions, that was the next thing I was going to talk about. Where's my window? We had a huge number of presentations submitted. We was able to include most of them, not all of them, but most of them we was able to. A few of them we had to ask people to kind of rejig a little bit, or point them in the right direction. So that was all through a database. So this is a simple database activity within Moodle. So again, if you're just here as an attendee, you probably wouldn't have seen this, but it was just fill out a few bits of information about the presentation and suggest some times to present, or that kind of thing. So that allowed me to export a list of all the presentations, all the approved presentations. So that gave me some really useful things like the title, the description, the name of the person that had submitted the presentation, and that's how I created all of the courses. So where are we? So all of the courses, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit while I close too many. Yeah, okay, I've accidentally closed the window. So after all the presentations were approved, exported that, played with that a little bit in OpenOffice, and created a couple of files. One to upload a list of courses. So just using the where are we? Administration, site administration, courses, upload courses. So all of that information in the database was used to automatically generate the courses on the site. That was using a CSV file. So the name of the course was the name of the presentation, the description, the short name. That's our kind of internal system for working out the scheduling. And then after they were uploaded, I got it to restore from a template. So I had one template course, which is why they all look the same. And I got it to restore that particular course. It was about 100 times in the end, once for each of the presentation courses. There's a few annoying little quirks with that, and there's probably, again, better ways to do it and stuff for me to think about for next year again. If you'll notice on one of the, if I jump into my course will do. So in previous years, I've had a nice big, I've had nice images at the top, which are hyperlinked through to the activities, and the activities were in an orphaned section underneath the section 0, which wasn't displayed. So when you go to the course, you just see some nice images that you click on to watch the live one or the replay. When you're restoring from a template, it doesn't link up images to the new versions of the Big Blue Button Room, the discussion forum, and the replay. The URLs will remain linked to the previous ones that were in that template course. And that was really annoying. So in previous years, I've gone through that's a backup and restore bug. Yeah, possibly, Tim. I'm not sure, really. Because if you've got an image that's linked to a URL, if you're restoring a course, you want that image still to be linked to a particular URL. Not, I don't know. Need some option of telling it not to link to that fixed URL, to link it to a particular activity. I suppose it should. If it sees that it's a URL within the Moodle site, how does it know if it should be a permanent fixed URL or if it should be regenerated because it's linked to an activity? I'm not sure. Yeah, I could have probably got one of the guys that knows a little bit more to run something to go through and fix everything. Just trying to keep up with the reading the chat as well. Yeah, but there are again trying to make sure that everything is nicely accessible for everybody. Having images linked to Moodle activities, and if that's the only thing that's getting a user to that Moodle activity, can cause problems. So that's actually, I think it's a better solution as it is at the moment to still have the Big Blue Button activity displayed, the replay and the discussion forum displayed, rather than messing about with fancy navigation, putting things in orphaned activities and all of that. I mean, the filter picks up on the name and automatically links it anyway. Yeah, again, I'm just thinking of different devices and maybe screen readers and that kind of thing. So that was setting up the courses. Assigning the presenters to each course. Again, that was just upload users and making sure that the correct role was assigned to each of the presenters as that was put into the system. So that's quite nice on the upload users. You can say, this user needs to be a presenter in this course, and again, that's all done via CSV. So that works well. But what doesn't work well is the enrollment methods. So on each course, to get the attendees, to get all the participants, so the other presenters as well, to get them onto each course, I was using course MetaLink. So, for instance, on my presentation course here, add course MetaLink and then link it up to the participants lounge. And that's not working at the moment. That has to be done manually. So you can't, the course MetaLink is one of the enrollment methods that you can't use the upload courses to automatically generate for you. So that was fun. That that I had to set up individually for all 100 courses. But there's little shortcuts and things. Found a website that would open multiple URLs in one go. So I just created a spreadsheet with course number 1, dragged it down to generate all the URLs for all the different 100 courses, opened them up, and then just a couple of clicks on each. So it's probably quicker to do it that way in the end than dig around and try and find other ways to do it. So that links up all of the individual courses to get all of the participants on each course. It's just checking the chat. So you have to configure course metalinks once per each course. Yes, Justin. So after the course was set up, then I had to tell each of the presentation courses to enroll all of the participants from the participants lounge. So that has, at the moment, that has to be done manually. So that kind of, let me just check my checklists, presentation submission, courses, template, meta enrollment. Okay, so that brings me onto the schedule. Now I can't talk too much about the schedule because I don't know a great deal about it, to be honest. So it's Shane's code. He's tweaked it a little bit over the years. In fact, I'm just checking if Shane's in the room. If I say stuff that's not accurate, Shane, or if you want to elaborate, please. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So it was written 6 years ago, but it shows it hasn't needed any major changes and it's worked sufficiently for all 6 moots. So it's a local plugin, and there's different parts to the plugin. So we've got the sessions block, which is just pulling the current session and the upcoming sessions. In fact, Shane's just tweaked this today a little bit, I think. Yeah, throw in more suggestions for improvements as well. This is something we want to get out of this is, I've probably spent easily the last month on the iMoot, which is a scary thought, because everything, all the marketing and all of that as well, and emailing and communications and that. There's certainly much better, simpler ways to do a lot of this. I am kind of thinking something where presenters request a course and then that automates a whole bunch of stuff as well. Anyway, that's discussions. If you've got ideas, throw it into the chat. Also, I introduced a bug about 30 minutes ago that forced Australia Perth time zone fixed now. Yeah, that was on purpose to see if anybody was awake, wasn't it, Shane? That was just. So anyway, we've got the schedule. Obviously, it's linking to time zones and things. So when I set up the different sessions, Actually, there's probably one more page. I can't remember the URL for it. But the first thing that I do is set up individual session calendar events, basically choosing the start time, the end time, and the day that it happens on. And once that's set up, so I have to do that for all 120 sessions. Once that's set up, then we can add links between, because that's all it is, we're just linking between courses and the schedule to display the links to the courses. So picking up a particular session, so in fact if I jump into Joyce's keynote here and go to edit that. So session 1, that's pulling that information from where I set it up, choosing which, oh, did I get that? Just making sure I just didn't accidentally delete that. So yeah, first session, and then choosing which of the particular, so this is just a list of the course names, how to, which at the moment on the schedule, it's not showing, this is all color coded basically. Some of these run across 2 blocks, but if you go to the if you go to the PDF version, of the schedule, then it's all color coded for the different, whether they're a how-to or if they're ask a Moodler and all that kind of thing. Like, you're not making changes on the actual live site. Yeah, that's all we do. In fact, there isn't a backup. There isn't this is the only version of this site. There isn't anything that we work on, like a development site, test it, make sure it's working. It's always the live site. Yeah, so that's how we're creating the links between the courses and the schedule. And the schedule itself is just pulling through the name of the course and the teacher or teachers on that course. What is it? It's probably the Moodle refers to it as the course context, doesn't it? And then a shortened, a cut-off description of that course. So it's cool. It's really neat, I think. And yeah, it works well, but there are things that we can improve on it. So yeah, all suggestions welcome. Okay, gone on. Actually, I'm up to 3/4 of an hour. I didn't think I'd be talking for this long. Courses, template, metronome, schedule, adding sessions, adding courses, reports and badges. Okay, the other couple of little bits then. I've added in the configurable reports block and pulled out a bunch of, well, this is Tim's area really, a bunch of the custom SQL queries. This is just because it's stuff that I didn't really know about, to be honest, and it's things that I wanted to learn. So lots. I'll probably do this again in the wrap-up session on Monday morning. But you know, a bunch of these. Open up that one. So lots of these are from Tim's plugin. So if anybody is interested, and I'm probably preaching to the converted here, but just have a look for the ad hoc contributed reports page here in the Moodle docs. I found, well, we're on 2.9, so maybe some of the tables are moved around and things are done a little bit different. Was it? Yeah, I'll talk about the badges in a sec. But yeah, there's loads of useful custom SQL queries there, some of which I've just borrowed and changed slightly to generate interesting things for me to talk about in that last wrap-up session Monday morning. I did flash that one up. Yeah, Gareth leading the badge leaderboard at the moment. And so it's because he made most of them, so maybe he's awarding them to himself, which leads me on nicely to the last bit I was going to mention, which are all the badges, and I can only take credit for a couple of these. Gareth produced most of them. If you're interested, actually, what I did was I wrote out some quite strict guidelines, actually, as to, let's pick one in particular, the Facebook badge here, as to what the official iMoot badges should look like. And again, I just gave a choice of 3 different variations from the Google material design color schemes with an image in the middle, and said that the iMoot team, if they wanted to make badges, had to make them from this Make Badge As website, which is really cool. It's nice and simple. And simple is good because it means that all of the badges had a very similar look and feel to them. So I think in total there's about 28 if anybody wants to try, 26, there we go. If anybody wants to try to collect the whole lot. So I shall just kind of, whoops. I didn't intend to do that. That's my daughter. Let's bring a window back. There we go. That was the one I was looking for. I thought that was maximized behind it. Reading Richard's. What about unofficial? You're welcome to make them yourself, Richard. Of course you are. Yeah. If your presenters can make badges and award them to people. So that kind of takes me towards the end. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop talking for a minute, and I'm going to stop my screen sharing. Back again. That's interesting. I must mention that to Fred. That did that before when I stopped screen sharing. It kicked me out. So that kind of brings me to the end of what I was going to talk about, really. So if there's anyone with questions, I'd love to hear them. If you want to either type them into the chat or just following up Richard's question. Yeah, you didn't know my guidelines, my strict guidelines. That's totally fine. It was really for the ones that we were gonna award as the iMoot team. So yeah, if you've got any questions that you want to ask me about like the universe and iMoot, then please do so. If not, I will start to draw this session to an end. Justin, I missed the theme explanation. The theme, okay. I'm happy to talk about that again. Yeah, but just real quick, what did you base it on? I just so it's the more theme, and I stole the colors from the Google material design specification. If you Google material design by Google, then they've got some color palettes, so I use those. But yeah, it was just using custom CSS to kind of just tweak the look and the feel and everything. Yeah, thank you, Tim. That's what. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, I really, that's exactly what. I'm glad people kind of see it as very standard Moodle, because that's what I wanted it to be. I didn't want some, fancy theme. I wanted it clean, simple, and as close to totally standard Moodle as possible. Just so people could see what you can do with it just by playing with a few of the standard features. Moodle standard dark thing. And Justin, if you're keen, I can show you the custom CSS. But really, it's just the more thing with some custom CSS to change the the square bits around the block and the shadows and the background colors and all that kind of thing. Okay. Was there anything else anybody wanted to ask me at all? Server setup. That's Shane's hat, really. I'm not a server guy. I can just about install a Moodle. I can just about. Shane taught me a little while ago how to update a Moodle site using Git, and if I can just about follow his instructions if ever I need to update any of my personal Moodle sites and things. There we go, Josh. CentOS, Apache, MySQL. Josh's BBB, yeah. Well, they're sponsors of the iMoot, so Blindside Networks, Fred Dixon and his team, they host the Big Blue Button. Which presentations have had the most attendees? Martin's keynote was 64, I think. I was umming and ahhing whether to pull out some stats, but I don't want it to turn into a popularity contest. Most active courses, that kind of thing. Make them public. Just show the least activity courses. That's a joke. That's a joke. Right, I should stop recording. I'd like good stats about how many people watched the recordings. Yeah, that would be interesting. So we've got, you probably saw it when I was going through some, in fact, all of you can see it if you look on the participants lounge, but we've got just under 250 people attending this year, which is phenomenal. Biggest year so far, which is, yeah, just totally blown away by the response that we've had. It's really, really cool. And I know that lots and lots of those people are going to be coming back, watching recordings over and over again. And as we usually do, eventually when my work calendar allows me to, I'll start to get these recordings up onto YouTube, so the wider world can see them as well. But we usually try to hang on to them for at least 3 months, 3 to 6 months. It's normally towards kind of October, November, December time when I finally get around to putting them out there. Things like Martin's keynote, I might try and push out there a little bit sooner, just because it's going to be more useful to people before it gets old, basically. Do you ask which of the 2 sessions to put on YouTube? In previous years, I've actually put on both because you often get different stuff, especially the questions and answers. Sometimes it doesn't go up there because for all sorts of reasons, maybe quality of the recording, or if people didn't give their permission for us to put them on YouTube, and sometimes they don't. Sorry, I shouldn't say to put them on YouTube, to release them under Creative Commons. And also there's a bunch from last year that I still just haven't got around to publishing because of time constraints. So I don't know if that answered your question. Yeah, so both, probably both, Josh. Actually, this year it will be slightly different because with that new start recording, stop recording button built into Big Blue Button, it means that we get much cleaner copies of the recordings. In previous years, I've had to take the full captures and then edit them down. So people that have just left their browser, presenters that have left their browser running for 3 hours, 6 hours, I've got 3 or 6 hours worth of presentation to go through, find the start, find the end, trim it, and then get it up on YouTube. But with the start and stop record button, that means that there should be, in theory, a load less editing for me. Just having a quick scroll down. Top 5's okay. Yeah, Justin. I probably will try and pick out, just read Richard's comment underneath, I probably will try and pick out maybe the top 5 most active courses or something like that. Tim, if you can point me in the direction of an SQL query that would pull out some stats about how many people have watched the recordings, then I'm happy to put something out there to you. But I don't know enough about SQL to write the query. If anybody would like to write a query, then I'm happy to run it. Okay, no worries. Ask Shane. And that will go right to the bottom of Shane's things to do list. It depends how nicely you ask Shane, Tim. Right. Yes. Oh, I thought somebody was going to grab the mic and jump in and say something. Yeah. And I guess anything that we can do to make it easier for people to access useful sessions, then yeah, we'll have a little think how we can do that. Yeah, I could probably just pull, actually, just thinking about it, I could just have a look at activity of that particular module, the replay module, have a look at that across the whole site. get it to look at individual courses, which has got the most activity on that particular. Cool. Well, carry on the conversation in the forum and tell me what needs to be plugged into the SQL query. Okay. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Justin. Thank you. And thank you for everybody for coming along to this session. As I said at the beginning, it was a bit of a fill-in session, a last-minute addition to the schedule. But yeah, just catch me around the iMoot if there's anything else that you want to ask me, or you will know me. So send me an email, catch me on Twitter or wherever. So I shall hit the stop recording button now. Thank you guys for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the iMoot.